It's funny, as I said to Becca yesterday, at least once a day, somebody says something on Facebook that I roll my eyes at and think is really stupid. And at least once a day, I think about how I could write something in the comments that would be very funny and would not mean, but just kind of like snarky. And at least once a day, I stop myself from doing that.
I would tear every map out of the Bible if I could.
Oh, wow. He's a non-map guy.
I hate maps.
Hey, everybody,
I love maps.
Please do not turn off this video or start posting nasty comments. All right. Well, I'm so excited because I'm here back with Tim Wildsmith, but we have another guest with us as well today, Cam Hyde. Welcome, Cam.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's so great.
Three men with hats.
That's what I was going to say. 3 guys with hats. Great.
Cam,
Tim's thing alike.
Cam, you need to get those big, huge, reflective sunglasses that I've seen you wear on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
that's
epic. What I need. Yeah, they block out the haters. That's what they're for. So. I do actually wear glasses, but I more need them for far away things than up close.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think glasses are, one of the most wonderful things to wear. They just really add to the look. I like it. So, of course, I started wearing glasses when I was like 5 years old. So my whole life pretty much has been glasses. So yeah. But as far as hats, getting back to hats, I see that Cam has one of his favorite teams, the New Orleans Saints.
Who dat?
Exactly. Tim knows.
Yeah.
Who dat? Drew Brees just retired, so it's going to be an interesting season for the Saints.
Yeah, that's good. So you're a big football fan, it sounds like, and then I noticed on your website you also like the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yep, it's good to be a fan of the greatest team in college basketball history, and this year it's looking like we're setting up for another good year after having a bad one. So excited for that. See what happens. Hopefully everything stays more normal this year.
Yeah. As someone who is friends with several Kentucky Wildcats fans, Cam's statement there really fits right in with the ethos that they carry with themselves when it comes to their basketball team.
Very humble, very, very humble, never drawing attention to themselves.
Never.
Yeah. You're just kind of born into it. You're raised you're discipled from a baby to, it's just, it's in the blood here.
There you go.
So you've been discipled well. You're carrying on the torch. Yeah. So I see you like the Kentucky Wildcats, the New Orleans Saints, and a good cup of coffee.
Mm.
Oh yes. Love a good cup of coffee.
Yes, I do too. How about you, Tim?
I actually love kind of a mediocre cup of coffee usually. There's a couple of those really frou-frou barista kind of places in Nashville that make like really nice coffee. And I don't like that kind of coffee. I like the stuff that I make in my cheap coffee pot, or like Starbucks is really fancy for me, but I'm like mediocre coffee at best.
Oh, okay. So Folgers is absolutely fine for you.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. That works. But Cam, I noticed on your site, and I'm going to put a link to this in the video description, at camhyde.com or camlhyde, is that right? .com?
Both of those will get you there.
Okay. It says that you do Bible reviews, which we are going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the controversial things that we sometimes hear when we're doing Bible reviews. And we're also going to talk about some Bibles we're excited about. But you also do book reviews, and you blog about lifestyle, Christian life as well. So I see that here. You've got a couple of blog posts about Christian life, and then a book review on marriage, and then a McLaren series Bible review. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you do a variety there.
Well, I started the website just actually blogging for myself and just to write, because I like to write. And then all of a sudden I got into some book reviews. I'm a student pastor, so free books was like wonderful, very helpful to get things for free, because the student pastor salary does not give you a lot of room to just buy a bunch of books. And then somebody asked me, they were like, "Hey, do you want to review a Bible?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't even know nice Bibles really existed. I had at one point ended up at Mark Bertrand's website. What is his site? Bible Design Blog? Is that what it was?
That's right.
So I ended up there, and reading all his reviews is kind of how I even learned to review a Bible, because I just started reading about all kinds of different fancy Bibles that I didn't even know were a thing. So
yes,
awesome.
You were brought into the world of premium Bibles, and a lot of people have had that experience. Yeah.
Then you can never go back.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So Tim Wildsmith, you also have a website. Actually, you have a couple websites. You have a Bible review blog.
I do.
At BibleReviewBlog.com. So a lot of reviews there, helping people to find a Bible that's right for them. And you also do video reviews. Cam was telling us, and we'll ask him about that. He's getting a little bit into video reviews, but both Tim and I do video reviews. You also have this website as well as your personal website here, timwildsmith.com. So you're a busy guy.
Yeah, I've had my own website for a while. I kind of did some writing, like Cam talked about, just like personal blogging. And before I got into Bible reviews and videos, there's a page on my website that's dedicated to resources that I create for a company called Download Youth Ministry. So DYM is basically youth pastors, share their best work with other youth pastors. And so I kind of created a little bit more stuff on my website a couple years ago so I could share more of the content that I was creating in the youth ministry space. And then I got into Bible reviews kind of right at the start of COVID. So about a year and a half ago. And that's when I really turned to the YouTube channel kind of in that direction. But I'm actually getting ready to do a book review. It's kind of it's a commentary. So it's spreading out a little bit into some things that are not Bibles. And I've been doing some Lectio Divina videos and just trying to create some interesting content for people. But the Bible is definitely kind of at the heart of all the content that I've been creating lately.
Funny enough, Tim, I've actually bought one of your Download Youth Ministry resources. So
yeah,
I saw your name and I was like, I'm definitely supporting Tim.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so Tim, you're also getting involved in campus ministry, it sounds like.
That's right. I was sharing with these guys before we pressed record that I have accepted an offer to go join the staff at University Ministries at Belmont University, which is my alma mater where I graduated for my undergraduate degree a long time ago. And so I'm going to be working with their staff this fall doing chapel services and mission trips and, resources for college students as far as deepening their faith. And so I'm going to keep up with Bible reviews and my website and things like that, but I am going to be focusing some more time on that this fall.
Awesome. And by the way, I didn't mention your hat. What is your hat?
This is the center of the state of Tennessee has 3 white stars, and it's a blue and red flag. So this is a Tennessee state flag hat from a company called Imperial Headwear that just makes cool hats.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very nice. As you can tell, I've got my baseball hat. I pretty much always have a baseball hat. And, I do actually like the Dodgers pretty well, but my favorite team, as a lot of people know, is actually the Phillies. But since I collect hats from my audience, I've been wearing a lot of different baseball hats. So that's always the explanation I have for having a different baseball hat on my videos. So you guys know who this is, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. I like to quiz people.
Almost wore my Cincinnati Reds hat today. So.
I don't have one, even though my grandfather is a Cincinnati fan he's originally from Cincinnati. So I don't know if you've ever heard, if you go out to Cincinnati, there's a place called Frisch's Big Boy.
Yes, we have one in my town.
Okay, that's actually like a distant relative of mine who started that franchise.
Wow.
That's
So
cool.
I have connections with Cincinnati, and the evidence is Frisch's Big Boy. So that's a little advertisement for them. They
right.
do.
Yeah. They have a all-you-can-eat breakfast bar. It's great.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right. See, the name Frisch. It's just has such a great great association to it, doesn't it? All right. So, Cam, you were also mentioning on top of your website that you are getting into maybe doing a little bit of video and stuff on Instagram. So I'll put a link to your Instagram account. And what are you doing over there on Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram is at real Cam Hyde because at Cam Hyde was taken and the guy never uses the account. I even messaged him to try and get him to give it to me and he never responded. So I was like, well, that's obviously the fake one. So I am going to be the real one. And so I'm over there. I put up some different book quotes from books I'm reading on there. I put up my Bible reviews. I use the stories a lot, and so I'm always putting up like Bible pictures that I don't put anywhere else. Mostly from my morning quiet times, just trying to inspire people, getting the word. You know, obviously as a Bible reviewer, we believe that the Bible's powerful, it's living, it's active, it's God's word, and so I want to encourage people in that, push them toward it. And so I'm trying to start doing a few video reviews of some different Bibles I get that may not get the full write-up on the website. And so I can actually embed those videos into my website, and my audience is on Instagram. And rather than try and build an audience on YouTube or somewhere, I'm just going to do it there where they already are, and try and get that to them. I'm also, like Tim, trying to do a few different things. I started just today what I called an Instacast. I called it Thunder and Theology. And it's just like a rapid topic pace Instagram podcast style type thing where just talk about some stuff I've been thinking about from the week and try and move through it quickly so it stays interesting, because one person monologuing is not always the most interesting thing to listen to. So. But trying some new things, trying to incorporate some video. Always really I like podcasts a lot. And I've always really liked the radio. I took a radio class in college. And so doing it that way kind of lets me get that radio feel. So I'm probably going to do it even if nobody watches it, just because I think it's fun.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm very impressed with both of you, and the productivity that you obviously put into everything. You're very productive. You both have great written material, and now hearing these other projects and things that you're working on, and I do want to mention too that Tim Wildsmith was telling us that he's been a bit under the weather. So it's very good, Tim, that you were willing to come on with us today and expend the energy to be here. We really appreciate that. But it just, it's hard. We only have so much energy and so much time, but you guys both put a lot of work into what you do. But again, just really do appreciate you guys. I appreciate our community, of course. And so we're going to talk a little bit more here now about Bible reviewing and our experience with it. And especially I want to get into maybe some of the controversial things. And they're not necessarily controversial in and of themselves. It's just things that maybe people make controversies out of, which, is pretty much anything when it comes to us as humans. So I'd love to hear, what are some interesting comments or feedback that you guys have received on different things as you've been reviewing Bibles? Are there anything that have stood out to you? Maybe things that have just been kind of funny, or things that, you kind of maybe had to have a little back and forth with someone about? I don't know. Can you guys think of anything that's controversial when it comes to the Bible review world?
I will share. I shared this on my personal Facebook page yesterday. This morning, I blocked my first person on YouTube. Somebody a few days ago left a comment on one of my videos and it said a whole lot of nasty things about me personally, but used the word golem, called me a golem. And I thought that was interesting. And a lot of people on Facebook, when I said that, put some Smeagol memes in there in my comments, which made me smile. But then I woke up this morning and I had 70 emails from YouTube, and the person had copied and pasted that comment on lots of videos. And then YouTube obviously thought it was spam, so they started deleting them. And then that person started leaving other comments, and it was just somebody who obviously me reviewing Bibles or something rubbed them the wrong way, and they decided to take it out on me, and it felt pretty spiteful. And so
Ouch.
I had to figure out this morning how to block that person from being able to watch my videos or comment on my videos and stuff like that. But I also shared in that post that I get a lot of people just kind of dropping. It seems like they just kind of come in and they swoop down and they drop a little King James only comment, and then they're gone, and then they never come back. They don't really stick around for debates usually. So that's been I would say that one experience. Every now and then somebody just says something nasty, and then King James only, or a lot of people, they just comment every time a Bible is printed in China. They say something about not wanting a Bible printed in China. So those are the things that I think I hear the most. But every now and then there's things about, materialism and, the pointlessness of a premium Bible, things like that. So those are the things I hear pretty commonly. But even then it's few and far between. It's not like it's on every single video that I do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I totally hear you that when you're doing Bible reviewing or anything online, you're going to get people that are critical, just very critical people. I do think you should start out your next video though. Just take a Bible and, just your first scene should be you petting it. My precious, something like that. That might be a good way to, I don't know, probably not a good idea actually, but
It'd be great.
Yeah. Yep. You brought up some good things. I think we can all relate to it, especially personal attacks. That's always interesting. Does anybody ever personally attack you, Cam?
I've been really blessed as far as, I haven't had a lot of personal attacks or really hardly any. The funny thing is for me, or the thing that was cracking me up the other day, is that Holman with the CSB, they're doing a giveaway right now. And one of their things was tag someone in the comments who has more Bibles than you. And I started
Randy Brown. Randy Brown. We can all tag him.
I started getting these notifications that people were tagging me in this post, and they were saying the only person I can think of is probably Cam Hyde, who's more Bibles.
Oh, there you go.
And we were laughing just a little bit earlier with sometimes my wife, when one comes in the mail, she's always like, does that one say anything different? Does that read different than your last one? Is there extra things in there? So the thing I do think about, which Tim mentioned a little bit, the thing that jumps to my mind especially is people talking about, well, why would you have so many Bibles? Or, why would you spend that kind of money on a Bible when it says the same thing on your phone, which, that's the counter argument. Why do you spend so much money on a phone or something like that? But yeah, that's the thing that jumped to my mind is the people who are like, it's idolatry for you to have this many Bibles. You've made an idol out of the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I actually think every criticism has potential truth or a kernel of truth. It's always good to hear some amount of criticism and just to consider. And we do want to make sure we don't make an idol out of anything. But I just think it's fascinating that sometimes you're allowed to collect other things that are way more expensive and nobody would say anything. That wouldn't be an idol. But if you collect Bibles, for some reason, that's an idol. And I don't quite get that. But I think, still at the same time, as it's the human heart, really, that can be idolatrous. So, we always want to make sure we're keeping things in check. But those are good things that you guys brought out. I think, too, like there are things that are not actually important that we just have personal preferences about. For me, and I've mentioned this, multiple times, is ribbons. I know some people, they just make a big deal out of ribbons. And I even had a little interaction recently with someone about that. And I just don't think they're that important, And so it almost kind of like, I'll almost get into not a fight, but I'll get into a little bit of a back and forth with people because they're like, you got to have long ribbons. And I'm like, why? Why do you have to have long ribbons? I don't know. You have experiences with ribbons like that? Or are you guys like big ribbon guys? So I'm offending you right now.
I want my ribbons wide and long. Just like Thomas Nelson's Zondervan, they're killing it in the ribbon game. And everyone should just copy what they do, and we'll be good. That's my opinion. Yeah.
I like
shots fired.
I like my ribbons just fine. I don't really think about ribbons all that much. I don't like super long ones, which is funny because some of my favorite Bibles have really long ribbons, and I've debated whether or not I can cut them. And the answer is yes. They're my Bibles. I can cut the ribbons, but I haven't done that yet. So maybe I will one day. I'll do like a existential crisis video about cutting the ribbons on one of my Allen Bibles.
Yeah. Then again, you could try selling the Bible for $500 to some huge ribbon lover online, because
ribbon
they're
lovers
out there. They're out.
You can always make your ribbons shorter, but you can never make them longer.
That's a good point.
So
that's a good point.
That's the argument I hear. But I will add to that you're right. That's true. And I think having them a little bit long is okay. But when they're just ridiculously long, I feel like the only people who cut their ribbons are people who feel comfortable messing with their Bibles to begin with. Like they're the same people who put new ribbons in, and it's the same people. The same people that are like, ribbons should be long, are the same guys that will put new ribbons into their Bibles. I'm like, well, you know, I don't mess with my ribbons, so.
I bought new ribbons the other day, but I haven't put them in a Bible yet. So.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm at.
This is the original Schuyler Caxton. So it's got the non-raised spine hubs. Are these, they're frayed because it's old. Are these too long or are they too short?
I would probably want them a little longer.
They stick out about 3.5 inches. You want them longer than that. Okay.
Yep. I would take them a little longer. And yeah.
You want them to dangle down like earrings.
I just picture him when I think of like a bride in her dress, the train dragging behind her. You know what? Cam Hyde's walking down the aisle at the church with the ribbons dragging behind him. Like, what a beautiful.
If we could jump rope with them, if we could jump rope with the ribbons, that's probably long enough.
That's the best kind of jump roping is Bible ribbon jump roping.
That's right.
As long as they're Beresfords. He will not jump rope with anything but Beresfords, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
People also get really I've had a couple people get really fired up about spine hubs, and I think spine hubs look nice, but and when I think of like a Bible, I don't think, oh wow, it has spine hubs. This makes it worth $100 more in my brain. But there are certain things that people just, and I get it, the aesthetic quality that you prefer. It's like, yeah, I'll pay more for that, and I won't pay for that. Some of the more like controversial comments I get are just people who very clearly are like, nope, I don't like that Bible. And it's not really controversial. They're just saying, yeah, thanks for that review. That Bible stinks. I don't like it. I'm like, oh, that was not very nice, but I'm glad you have that opinion.
Yes.
The other one that jumps out at me, because I agree with you on the spine hubs, I think about Yapp. That is that's a super controversial topic right there. So.
If you don't know what a Yapp is how far the cover hangs over the pages. So this is not very much Yapp at all, but some Bibles have like a full Yapp where the leather will touch. And I'm one of those people who my opinion on Yapp has changed. I used to think that lots of Yapp was kind of annoying, and now I kind of like it. So you never know.
Will you leave nasty comments though on other people's videos about
it's funny, as I said to Becca yesterday, at least once a day somebody says something on Facebook that I roll my eyes at and think is really stupid. And at least once a day, I think about how I could write something in the comments that would be very funny and would not mean, but just kind of like snarky. And at least once a day, I stop myself from doing that because I don't want to be that person on the internet. But a lot of people, I think they just kind of enjoy the sharing their opinions. And
so what you need to do, Tim, is you need to set up a fake Tim Wildsmith account, like the opposite of Cam's real Cam. And you can be snarky with that one.
I'll be William Wallace. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, Tim and I covered on a video or two about comfort print, which is a trigger word for some people. Fonts, and it's really funny. I actually think the comfort prints, if they didn't name them that, a lot of people wouldn't really even have strong opinions about them, but because they've marketed it and called it comfort print, because they use the word comfort, that's what people now zero in on. And they're like, well, I don't think that those prints are more comfortable to read. And that's how some people feel. But I find that overall, I've gone back and looked at past Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about from 10 years ago, even 20 years ago. Bible fonts as a whole have improved. Readability has improved from what I have seen. There are exceptions, but overall, Bible fonts have improved. But any thoughts on the Bible font controversies? You guys like comfort print? Okay. Well, I know that Tim and I already rated comfort print, so you know.
I think that's how we ended up talking about getting together to talk. Is I was raving about how Thomas Nelson doesn't seem to have a consistent size guide on their fonts, and so their new little genuine leather thin line that they've released that says is a 9-point font. Well, I'm having to pull out glasses to read a 9-point font, which should never be the case, and at least at my age, it shouldn't be the case. And so it reads much more like an 8-point font or something like that. And so I actually like the comfort print designs as far as like the typeface and how it looks. The sizing is my big gripe there with the comfort prints.
Yeah, I actually asked. Oh, I asked my wife. You guys may know this. I've shared with Tim that my wife is a graphic designer, and it's really interesting when you start talking about type sizes, because not all typefaces are created equally. And so what may technically, there's a technical way of measuring the points of a letter in a font, and so what may be a 10-point font in font A, typeface A, may be bigger or smaller than a 10-point font that's over here. It's just, they don't all look the same. They don't all read the same. And I think the comfort print, if you watch those videos that they did with 2K Denmark, it's all about how those fonts engage the reading experience and they flow together and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that sizing is one of those things that I'm continually surprised by how many people ask questions about how readable a Bible is. And so now in all of my reviews, I of course mention the type size, but then I talk about how I'm standing over this Bible a couple feet away and it reads really nice, or it's a little bit small, because people ask about that all the time. And so I think it's really interesting how certain fonts just jump off the page. To me, the Schuyler Quintel, they use that Milo font. To me, I think it's the Quintel is is it an 11 or an 11 and a half, whatever 11. It is. And it looks bigger than that. Like, it looks way bigger than that to me. It's just a big, massive font. Whereas other Bibles, you can open it up and it says that it's 9 or 10. And you're like, man, that feels really small. So yeah, it would be interesting to see some of the science behind all of that and how they measure things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The big thing, and I think this is what Cam really brought out in all of this, is that the big thing we would want is just consistency, especially within the publisher, whatever the publisher is putting out, to be consistent about measuring the font size, because Nelson did adjust their font size measurements and it's actually better. So the other thing I would add is be consistent, but err on the side of small. In other words, it's better to call it a smaller size, because then the expectation will be lower. If you call it a 10 and it reads like a 9, people are going to be disappointed. If you call it an 8 and it reads like a 9, they'll be, oh, I could live with this. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
those are the two things I would say.
Yeah, I think even about what you were saying, they've adjusted it, but like the McLaren that I just reviewed is the same text block as the former Preaching Bible from Thomas Nelson. And the Preaching Bible was labeled as like an 11 or 11.5, something like that. And now they're labeling the McLaren as a 10.5, but nothing has changed. It's the same exact type, same exact size. So I'm just asking for some consistency as far as, as that goes. But I do agree with you, Tim, that different fonts read bigger or smaller. You mentioned the Quintel. I think about the Clarion from Cambridge, and they list that as an 8, I think, and it definitely reads more like an 8.5 or a 9. It definitely reads bigger. And so, to your point, Tim Frisch, two Tims here.
Two Tims.
Tim and Tim. To your point, under promise, over deliver, just like you said. Set me up to expect something smaller. If it reads bigger, I'm going to be happy. You set me up to think something's bigger and it reads smaller. Man, if I had bought that Bible, I'm sending it back.
Yeah, because I think, I'm sure they had measuring guidelines when they did it initially, sure. and they can justify whatever they said. But I think the thinking was, if we put on the box it's a 10, people will say 10 is a good size. But I think it's counterintuitive. It's actually, you want to put something smaller so that when people read it in their brain, they go, hey, this reads good. I was expecting it to be only a 9, but I can read this. So yeah. The other thing I would add to this as far as fonts, and this is really fascinating, is that perception, as we know, is a very, it's one of those things that is contextual. And have you ever noticed, if you've been reading a Bible for a while and you look at something else, it'll affect the way you read the new Bible, because if you've been looking at the same thing for a while, it kind of, it sets your brain in a certain default mode. And then when you look at the new one, so when it comes to size, people forget this. It's like, well, what are you comparing to? Have you been reading a Bible with 7-point font? Have you been reading the Pitt Minion for the last 5 months? Well, then you're going to look at some of these 9-point fonts and think they're really big. And the other perception thing is how thick the font is, because, just depending on how thick it's printed or how wide the letters are, can change your perception of it. So I think that's what we have to realize is, our brains are not perfect at being able to compare everything. And even we are not always consistent when we're looking at things. You may have noticed that, like sometimes a Bible, depending on what I've been used to recently, I'll perceive that Bible as different. First time I picked up a Quintel, I had been using a lot of thin line type Bibles. So the Quintel, it was 36 GSM, really felt huge to me. But now that I've held so many different Bibles, the Quintel is not really that big of a Bible. Yeah. But I totally agree with you guys. I think the font on that definitely just feels like it's a nice large font. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting how, like, I've held up this Caxton a couple times. I think on the inside, the layout, single column, lexicon typeface, cross references out on the outside of it looks a lot like the Clarion. It's got some of the same stuff going on, but it's just a little bit taller than the Clarion. And so I tend to go towards the Caxton just because it has a little bit height. And the only reason that is just whatever way my brain is wired. When I look at that, it feels really comfortable to me. Whereas when I'm reading a Clarion, sometimes it just feels a little too short and stout. You know what I'm saying? And so I think you're right, Tim. It's like so much of this is personal preference. And that's why I use that catchphrase, find a Bible, because there's going to be a lot. There's so many things out there. And there's so many different little tweaks and options. And, even some of these Bibles we've mentioned today, there's a large print version and a personal size version with a smaller print, so it's like you could get the same, general Bible much bigger font or much smaller font and smaller size Bible, that sort of thing. Sometimes you see Thomas Nelson's, if you go to Amazon for a Bible and you scroll down, Thomas Nelson does this really good job of all of the different Bibles in that series are down below in the description. So you see like, man, they have like 18 versions of the same Bible or whatever. And it's like, you just got to find the one that works for you, that does make you go, oh, that's that Bible I love. I want to spend time reading that today because it just works for me. I think if we can start to do that, we're in the wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. One other controversial thing that I want to throw in here, I just thought of it too as we were talking about this, is Bible maps. And the cardstock versus, I know now it's getting really controversial.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. Kat Woods, I want to give a shout out to her. She does really good reviews. Check out her channel if you've never seen her video. Hey, Kat. And she was talking about Bible. I think it might have been the Schuyler NLT. I can't remember what that one's called.
She posted a picture of this the other day.
Yeah. Okay. What's the Caxton? Thank you.
Yeah.
And the back of that, she said, I believe that it was the one that had they had the maps on just the regular Bible paper.
Yeah. It's
and
nice
she
Bible
was
paper.
saying that's not a good thing to her. I was
really?
like shocked when she said this. She said it wrinkles too easily and it should be on cardstock. And I'm like, wow, so many Bible reviewers get upset if it's on cardstock. And now she's like, it should be on cardstock. So I was like, this is really hilarious. It just shows you, it depends on your use of a Bible, which is why what you're saying, Tim, rings true. It's a very personal thing because I don't write on maps. I don't really care, what the texture of the paper is.
Sure.
But I kind of liked her reasoning. Thicker paper in the front and the back does give the Bible a little bit more, solidness in the front and the back, which is kind of a nice thing. So yeah, maps. That's another one.
I would tear every map out of the Bible if I could.
Oh, wow. He's a non-map guy.
I hate maps.
Hey, everybody,
I love maps.
Please do not turn off this video or start posting nasty comments. Okay.
I thought about picking up this Bible and tearing the map out right here.
That's amazing.
I rave about that almost on every review that I do. I said, I do appreciate if it's on like a regular paper to make it thinner or even a matte cardstock to not be glossy. But I'd really just prefer, we live in the digital age, people. You've got a phone in your pocket. You can pull up a map of anything.
That's amazing.
Through Google and just get rid of the maps. That's what I would say. I am a map hater. I'm like, why do we need these? I never think, oh, let me go to the map. Never.
I always use Bible maps. I'm that kid who I was like, where am I again? And I'd flip back to the back and I'd like the Kingdom of David or the missionary journeys of Paul. And I loved that stuff. And so I'm not, I'm not back there every morning, hanging out in the Bible maps. And then for me as a visually, the way my brain works, I'm more looking at it, not I'm not a glossy Bible maps person. I like the cardstock or the thinner, Bible paper, slightly thicker than what's on the pages. But if they look good, once again, Schuyler has really beautiful Bible maps that are really well designed, and several publishers have that where they do this really great. Crossway does a few different really cool back in the Bible sets of maps that look really nice. So visually they draw me in, or sometimes they just look cartoonish almost. And if I see those, I'm like, doesn't really matter what paper they're on. If they look like they were designed for 7-year-olds, I kind of peace out.
Yeah. Well,
they're in there for you. They're there for you.
I have to say, one of the things that's great about following Jesus is how he can bring people together, right? People that love maps, people that hate maps. They're all part bridges. Yes, it's great to see the unity that we have in spite of our differences.
That's right.
I think too, that's the interesting thing about Bible reviewers, right, is we all have our biases. And so
Absolutely.
I'm sure like those seep into our reviews at times,
They
those
do.
biases, like, because I obviously have my preferences, I'm going to take the full Yapp with spine hubs and no maps if I can get it. And I've really become a really big fan of like a verse by verse layout, whereas I know some people hate it. And so I think that's the great thing about having multiple reviewers is you can get like a fuller picture.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And it's so good that these reviewers are giving their different opinions, because I find as people, we're very influenced by what we hear someone say in a certain context. And so if all you hear is a reviewer saying map should be this way, you'll start to hear people kind of repeat that. And
Yeah.
it becomes like, well, that's, everybody knows that map should be that. And that's why I said what Catwood said was so good, because it's good for people to hear that opinion and why they think that. And that's why you need people like me saying ribbons are not that important. I'm sorry. This is good, guys. I love this controversy.
Yeah.
It's